Hi, it's Laura Slade Wiggins from the Rings movie franchise. Just reminding you to check out the horror movie podcast that I listen to. Don't go out there.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. I really appreciate all support. Before we get into tonight's legendary blood donor review, just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. You know, we like to keep in touch with all our fans, and the website is a great place to find out everything you know about this website, about this podcast. We got all of our episodes and interviews if you want to listen. Like Brian's mentioned in the past, all of our interviews are in one little section if you want to listen to those specifically, because we got over 200 episodes, so they're not easy to find if you just scroll through. We also got, you know, our store. We got some new merch out, some new t-shirts. And we also have Shan's Etsy page attached. You want to grab a tumbler, definitely check that out. She's her business has been booming, so good for her. Shout out to Shan. We also have our blog up. We been doing some think pieces. Check those out. We'll be doing some more soon, I'm sure. And we also have all of our social media links on there. You know, social media driven world. We know Sean from social media, which is awesome. We got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Go follow us, like us, subscribe us, all that good stuff. We love interacting with our fans. We always read all our fans' questions, so it's definitely a great way to, you know, just keep in touch with us, interact with us, and, you know, build relationships with us because, you know, we love our fans. And I'll just shout out real quick our Patreon. It's called Blood Donors. We have two versions, a monthly reoccurring kind. Really takes a big burden off of us. You know, none of us pocket any money. It just basically helps us pay for the podcast. So it's a good sounding podcast. You know, it takes money. It pays for what we use to record on our site and all that good stuff. And we also have a one-time donation. Brother Sean took advantage of it twice now. But basically, if you want to come on our show and review a movie with us, all you have to do is, you know, just hit up our blood donors. Or if you want us to review a movie and, you know, maybe you don't want to come on, but you just want to hear our thoughts on it, definitely check those out. Those options are available. Tonight is Brother Sean's legendary blood donor review. We're taking on 2012 Sinister. I'll go ahead and let Sean kick us off why he picked it and his general thoughts before we get into it.
Thanks, Nico. I'm actually surprised y'all wanted me back after the hate you gave me for my last pick. No, I chose this one because of a poll on Twitter that you stressed that you really wanted this one over In the Tall Grass.
Oh, so you were peer pressured, you're saying?
It won, so I went with that.
Hey, Sean, believe it or not, I probably hate In the Tall Grass more than Color Out of Space.
See, Nico says that he's the one that always getting bullied, but it sounds like he's the one doing the bullying here.
Oh, the turntables.
That was bad. That was bad. But no, if I had known this was going to be wind up in Sci-Fi Month, I would have gone with the second place with the Event Horizon, but I am still glad I chose this one. And I saw this movie in theaters with a bunch of my friends from college and my ex-girlfriend. I might have invited Mike to the show. Oh, we were friendly back then? I don't know. I watched it, didn't enjoy it at the time, but then as I sat there and thought about it, I'm like, man, that was an interesting movie. Just kind of had to sit there and sink in. And over the years, I was just like, what a crazy concept. And it deserves its scares. It has its flaws, but I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Bagul is one of the more interesting villains of modern times. I know he doesn't do much, but he's still an interesting concept. So yeah, I'm glad I chose this one, and I can't wait to get into it with you guys.
I'll go next, and I'm glad you chose it too, Sean. It's a movie that's been on my list of picks for ever since we started the show. Honestly, I'm a big fan of this movie. I think that's a pretty common opinion amongst horror fans, that it's one of the better 2010, 2020, that decade of movies. I'm a big fan of it personally. I think Bagul is very terrifying looking. I love the look. And I really didn't know, you know, Brian's got some fun facts about it. I'm not going to touch on it now, but when you kind of get the look of Bagul, it's kind of, yeah, you can tell what it's based off of, kind of, you know, the looks are similar. The Super 8 films within the movie, I think are all incredible. We got a fan question about which our favorite one is, and we'll definitely touch on that. But basically, like Dustin would say, Ethan Hawke, he's one of his GOATs. He's great in this. I love Ethan Hawke. I think he is great. I'm just a big fan of this movie. Sinister 2, really wasn't necessary, but the first Sinister is great. Brian, you want to go ahead and go next?
Sure. So this one's a weird one for me because I like most of it, and it's not the acting. Like Ethan Hawke is. Look, and I'm being honest. This may be the best performance he's ever given. I've ever seen him give. Training Day is great, but let's be honest. Denzel steals that show. This is just him. He was very impressive to me in this movie. The problem I have with this, if I'm trying to kind of put it into words, is like once this becomes supernatural, like I was so enthralled, like entranced in this crime. I wanted it to stay that way, kind of like Seven. Like I can't express enough. Like the first 3/4 of this movie, I was sucked in. Like this was a 9 or 10 to me at that point. Like I guess I was wanting that True Detective season 1 type shit most of the way through this, and that once it became supernatural, I was a little bit disappointed. I'll go into further what I wanted to see, but all in all, this is a very well done movie. I just personally would have liked to have seen a more realistic approach, and that's something I didn't know I wanted, until I got so wrapped up in the first 3/4 of it. I think it's hilarious that there's barely any blood, no cursing, no sex here because the filmmakers were hoping for a PG-13 rating and they still got an R anyway. I do wonder if they would change some things, like knowing that in retrospect. Would they change some stuff? I don't know. But anyway, I don't know. This one's a weird one for me to rate, so I'm still not sure what I'm going to rate it.
So, Brian, what you mentioned the movie Seven. What I just heard was that you agree that Seven would have been better with Ethan Hawke instead of Brad Pitt. But anyway, so this movie is. I'd seen this movie before. Obviously, it's got the GOAT in it. And when I saw that Sean picked it, honestly, I was taken aback because I didn't know that you watched good movies. But with all due respect. But no, when I watched it back, I liked it even more. This movie's, I think it's really well made. I don't think that it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the acting's good, the storyline's good. I love the casting. We get not one, but two alumni of Law and Order, and Vince D'Onofrio, and former Tennessee Senator Fred Thompson. So I think the casting's great around Ethan Hawke. I don't know, man. This is we're gonna break my streak of mediocrely rated movies. I think this is pretty good.
Well, Vacancy should have been a lot higher, but I understand.
No, their ratings were dead on with
Sorry,
Vacancy.
You broke
out. Any more opening thoughts before we just jump into the scene by scene?
Ready.
All right, let's do it. The film starts with a home video of 4 people hanging from a tree as a limb is cut. Title card in the bottom corner of the film. Now we see Ellison and his family moving into a new house. The sheriff arrives and sends his deputies away as they stand waiting for an autograph for their book. Sheriff asks Tracy if her husband is around. Ellison goes into Ashley's room as she paints on the wall. He tells her to come outside and help move in boxes. She says she shouldn't have to. She didn't even want to move here. She says she misses her school. He makes a deal with her that they'll move back if she doesn't like it here. But he says you have to try and like it though. He and Ashley go outside and Tracy tells him to be nice. Sheriff and Ellison converse after not shaking Ellison's hand. Sheriff wants him and his family to leave. Ellison condescendingly offers a book to him. Sheriff says Ellison doesn't respect their line of work. He says this town doesn't need the circus he brings with him. As Ellison walks away, Sheriff says he finds this in very, very bad taste. Ellison tells Tracy Sheriff jokingly just wanted an autograph. She asks why he pointed at the house. She says we better not have moved a few houses down from a crime scene. He says we didn't. Ellison looks in his backyard and we see the tree from the home movie where the people were hanged. Ellison is in his attic now and finds a bunch of old Super 8 home movies and a projector. He takes the box down to his office. Tracy serves dinner and Ellison tells the family they'll be all right once they're not paying 2 mortgages. Trevor asks if the book's good and Tracy says he writes about terrible things and to stay out of Dad's office. Tracy asks Ellison how long they'll be here. She misses when he wrote fiction. He says he needs her by his side, and she wants him to be happy. She says Kentucky Blood was 10 years ago. What if that was your 15 minutes? She says if this goes sour again, she'll take Trevor and Ashley to her sisters. And he says that's fair. They kiss and he goes back to his office to write. We see the family Ellison is investigating. He writes, how did the box of film get there? He fires up the projector and we see the family playing on a tire swing, playing catch, just having fun as a family. Then it cuts to them hanging from the tree. Ellison is disturbed. The film ends. He turns the projector off and pours a drink. Starts the film back over and takes more notes. He asks, who made the film? Where's Stephanie? He asks. Ellison is outside now and he looks at the tree. It's super windy and he goes back inside the house. He closes the door and he hears a door open. He goes to check it out and we see someone run behind him as he looks out the window. Now he finds Ashley in the laundry room, who was lost in the house. He tucks her back in bed and compliments her new paintings. She asks if he's going to write a good book so they can go home. He goes back to the projector and puts on a new film. This time the family is out fishing and grilling by a lake. We now see the car is chained up and the family is bound and gagged inside the car. Then the car is set on fire. Ellison ends the tape. Ellison calls the police department but freezes up and hangs up when he sees his copies of Kentucky Blood on the shelf. All right, Brian, that's the first set of scenes I got. Go ahead.
So seriously, this opening scene is fucking disturbing, or it was for me. It's so freaking good. It sets the tone right off the bat, showing the family hung by a damn tree. And I mean, spoiler alert, no kid is cutting that limb, just so we know, like we agree on that, right? Maybe supernatural kids having supernatural strength. Okay, I don't know. But spoiler for the end of the movie, blah. But regardless, at this point, not knowing, this is disturbing as hell. Like, just an amazing choice from which I assume was director Scott Derrickson to shoot these home videos on real Super 8 film cameras to kind of capture that grainy, nostalgic, creepy ass effect. I also want to give credit to Robert Cargill as well, who had writing credit on this. I just don't know who made the decision, but whoever made it is fucking ridiculously awesome. Cargill actually said that he got the idea for the bones of the script from a nightmare he had after watching 2002's The Ring. Listen to our review of that on don'tgooutthere.com. But you can definitely see that it has, kind of the same type of grain kind of feel as those VHS tapes, now that you know that. The cinematography, even after the Super 8 films, I think is fantastic. There's this introduction 361 shot of Ethan Hawke or Ellison. I'm not sure I'm going to remember his name. It's going to be Ethan Hawke probably, so sorry in advance. But there's this beautiful shot where he gets out of the moving van at the start. It's just chef's kiss. Just beautiful. Shout out to Christopher Noor, the director of photography on that one. And I gave Ethan Hawke just his flowers for this movie because he's so damn good in it. But I also want to shout out Juliette Rylance, who plays his wife. I've literally never seen anything that she's ever been in to this point in my life, but there's just something about her casting here that I thought was just tremendous. The British accent, the whole thing perfectly fit. Dustin mentioned the great former U.S. Senator from the great state of Tennessee, Fred Thompson, a fucking acting legend. But I'll personally always remember him from The Hunt for Red October and Die Hard 2. So food for thought here, and I'll shut up. But knowing what I said about not caring for the supernatural aspect of the film, what if the cult ended up being just like a bunch of psychopaths and the sheriff been part of it? Like a better twist? Maybe? I don't know. But I actually found myself hoping for that as I watched the film, like if I'm being honest. And last thing, and I'll get out of here. At around 8 minutes, Ellison finds a fucking scorpion in the attic. We find out later the house is in Pennsylvania, so there's no fucking scorpions in Pennsylvania. But okay, let's say that, that's all supernatural there. Why is Detective So-and-so, which I hated that name, by the way, but Eddie from It Chapter 2, why is Eddie just acting like that's a natural occurrence and no big deal that an animal from another part of the world just up in the attic? It's just weird. But anyway, amazing set of scenes, great setup, love it. I'll shut up now.
All right.
You can buy scorpions at PetSmart, brother.
That's true. I want one. Sarah won't let me get one. Yes, this opening shot is fantastic. Super 8, just out of nowhere, just watching a family get hung in their backyard. You're like, okay, this is how this movie's going to go. You're right, Brian. There's no way she's cutting that limb. That's something that's always bothered me about a couple of these Super 8 films is there's no way a kid would be doing this. But no, once you get into that, you just get an unsettling mood for the rest of the movie of, is he really moving into this house? Like, I get you're desperate for fame, but it's just a bad move to move into that. Them unpacking the truck is great because you just see him just being lazy as all get out, carrying one box, and his wife's just like, really? This is how you're going to be? You drag us all the way out here and you're not even going to help? And then he gets on his daughter about it, and she just gives him that whole, I didn't want to move here either. So just everybody's basically sick of his crap at this point, which is a good reason because he hasn't done anything in 10 years. Fred Thompson, the GOAT, mentioned, and the man just can't stay out of Law and Order.
But hey, so Ellison, like, the man puts his own wants and needs ahead of his family, puts them in danger, essentially gets them all killed. He's kind of a douchebag.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean, we agree
This
with
movie
that.
is 100% his fault.
Yeah, no.
This movie,
Ellison definitely gets the Man F Them Kids award for this one.
he sure does. And you know what? This might be the second most deserved F Them Kids award after 28 weeks later,
That was the inaugural.
which you can listen to on
Dogweather.com.
see. But no, like I said, his pride gets in the way of everything. And the sheriff, I agree with the sheriff. He should just let it go because there is no reason for this. And I like what he said. Whatever reason you find is never going to explain this. It's better to just let it go and let the town forget. Him just being condescending with Ellison of, hey, what do you know? You aren't a complete idiot that you're not going to use my department to further your circus. But no, overall, I really enjoyed the opening scenes. I saw something that Scorpion, and it might have been one of the forms of Bagul, because it shows up later on the drawings from the professor. And I'm just like, okay, that makes sense. That would explain why there's a scorpion.
Yeah, well, he got fucking
that,
smashed.
Which also, whatever. The bigger the claws, the less it's going to kill you. Thank you, Indiana Jones. No, it's the worst Indiana Jones movie.
There's a good one.
Oh, you say
I out of here, Dustin. Get the
No, this is
out of here.
no. This is probably my hottest take, sure. But I'd never seen any of the Indiana Jones movies until last year, or I guess 2020. Watched them all. Jen, shout out to Jen, made me watch them. They suck.
Anyways, you say I have bad taste in movies. Anyways, yeah, dang, I don't really like that theory, Brian, of the sheriff being in on it. That could have been a very interesting movie.
I do make better movies.
This is a question that you can think on. What would have happened if he had turned over the box? It's the very first time he saw the movie. He's like, screw this, I'm out, I'm moving. Would he still end up dead? But was he doomed the moment he stepped foot in the house?
That's how I kind of take it. Like, knowing what we find out later, I kind of think he was screwed the second he moved in there. But, you know, as far as the opening set of scenes, I like the opening set of scenes a lot. I think it does a great job of letting us know what's up right off the bat. We get introduced to the Super 8 film, and it's unsettling to say the least. Then we meet the family. We get introduced to their dynamic right away. We know what's going on with them. He tells his wife a little white lie. No, we didn't move in. We didn't move in 2 houses down from the crime scene. You know, white lies are the spice of life. So that was a really good husband move there to save his skin for now.
Didn't help.
I really like what we're getting towards here. It's unsettling. You know, it's creepy. The score is great in this movie throughout. And, I just think it's a very solid opening set of scenes to let you know that some bad shit is about to go down. And I'm not going to beat a dead horse and go over what you guys said, but phenomenal open, though.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the open, too. I mean, you see a family hanging from a tree, immediately catches your attention, like, oh, shit. This is what we're getting into now, huh? All right, so the next set is, he looks through his pictures and starts to hypothesize. He puts in another tape, this one called Pool Party. He turns it off as he hears more noises in the house. He goes into the hallway and calls for Ashley, thinking it's her again. He checks her room and sees her there. He hears creaking above him. He walks through the dark halls and stares at a box in the light. It opens now and his son Trevor pops out and screams blood-curdling screams at him. He and Tracy carry him outside and have him wake up. They say he was having a night terror. He says it's from the stress of the move. Tracy asks what's the matter. He just says he's really sorry. Next morning at breakfast, they talk about Trevor about what happened last night. They joke about him trying to pee in the dryer. Ellison asks the kids if they're excited for their first day at school. Tracy takes him to school, and Ellison is back to the tapes. He watches a family in the pool now and them having lunch. We now see at nighttime them bound to pool chairs and pulled into the pool to drown. Ellison now sees a creepy face in the water that looks back at him. He rewinds the tapes and pauses on the face. Ellison walks closer to the screen and stares at it until the tape catches on fire. He pulls up the internet and Googles how to edit Super 8 films. He starts to watch the pool death scene again, but the film with the face is still messed up. He now hears his family getting home. Tracy is yelling at Trevor. Tracy says he's acting up again. He drew a picture of 4 people hanging from a tree. She says she needs to talk to him. They argue over his actions, and she calls him a man of the people when he says these people need their story told. She tells him she's putting the kids to bed, and he asks for her to kiss them goodnight for him. She says, keep your door closed. Another film, and we see a POV shot walking through a dark house. We see a man tied to his bed and his mouth taped up. We see he and his wife's throat slit. And I really like how they show the throat slits in Ellison's glasses. The person now walks to a child's room and slits his throat too. Ellison pounds the booze as the film ends. Ellison is watching the tape on his computer again and zooms in and prints a screenshot. He continues to watch and finds the words about a St. Louis murder. He watches a news report on the murder and a missing 13-year-old boy. Ellison hears more rumbling upstairs. He continues to research, then the lights go out. The noises above him get louder. He grabs his light and goes to check it out. He looks through rooms and is scared when he hears a loud crash. He grabs a kitchen knife and walks down the hallway. He goes into the attic and he screams when he hears another banging noise. He grabs a fire poker and touches the snake that slithers away. He now looks at a drawing of the dead family members and names off the different murders. He falls through the roof as it caves in. All right, go ahead, Brian. The next set of scenes I got.
Okay, so help me out here. Like, this goes back to the last set of scenes too. What if he did take those tapes to the police? I mean, I'm assuming, like, since there's some kind of supernatural whatever, they would have burned up or something, like supernatural or fire or something would have happened to them. Probably, maybe. Thoughts? Yeah,
Probably.
no, maybe.
I think they probably just would have been just a family hanging out before they were hanging out. Nothing spectacular, and they would have thought he was
I
just
gotcha.
out of his mind.
Anyway, like, so, but I do love the fake out with the boy with what's his name, Trevor, being what you think is possessed, but and you know, they put the focus on him. But while we're on that, I think Michael Hall Daddario does a really good job. But Claire Foley is who played Ashley, who I think was phenomenal. Fun fact about her: she was actually born just 13 days after September 11th, 2001. Only probably around 10 when this was filmed. But she also played Ivy in Gotham. Like, this movie has a lot of ties to Gotham, I noticed. Her and the cinematographer both worked on that show. The pool party snuff film, and I know we got a fan question, but this one may be the most, at least, disturbing to me. Actually, apparently this was a big deal to film. According to Cargill, these actors were really tied down to the lawn chairs and pulled under the fucking water. Like, I don't know what they got paid, but it wasn't enough. And speaking of that, like, I meant to bring up in that last set of scenes too, but the family that was hanged on that tree were all played by stuntmen. So when the scene was first done, the stunt coordinator, and I won't bring up his name because I'm not trying to slander anybody on the show, but, you know, because shit happens, but they botched the preparations for the scene, resulting in the actors being legitimately hanged and choked. Fortunately, they survived, and the coordinator was fired soon after, but that's some crazy shit. But another fantastic...
What I don't understand is a movie with this kind of budget, which I don't know what the actual budget is, but a movie with this kind of backing and star power in the cast, they couldn't spare some money for some lifelike dummies. They had to actually, like, nothing about the hanging had to be a real person. Nothing about the lawn chairs or the drowning getting pulled into the water. It had to be real people.
With the divers on standby.
That's just some sinister...
They really wanted this movie.
That's just some sinister shit there, no pun intended.
No,
all the pun intended.
Okay, pun intended. But still, it was sinister to have... Okay, I know you're a living, breathing, real person. Get in this chair. I'm pulling you underwater. Like, what the hell?
I mean,
yeah.
What's his face as Nicholas something was wearing weighted shoes with that whole gear underwater, and they had divers giving them air between takes. It's nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy. But anyway, another fantastic shot I wanted to point out was the slow motion of Ellison walking, holding his son with that almost like Viking horn, whatever it was in the soundtrack. that was a beautifully disturbing shot, I think. But I think this is the first time we really get to see Mr. Boogie. I mean, apparently Cargill said he was originally intended to look more like Johnny Depp version of Willy Wonka. So I'm fucking glad they changed that.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. But this design was actually just a photo he found on Google Images, and he bought the rights to it. Like that's
For
crazy. For such a big budget
$200, they
film.
get
That's crazy.
that.
Anyway, another amazing set of scenes. I'm sucked in like crazy. My heart rate's up. But I was here. It was actually here when I texted the guys and was like, "Is this a fucking demon movie?" Which, like I said, I was glad to get the reply no back. And at that point, like I got kind of pretty damn excited because I was thinking, "Oh shit, okay, we got a murder mystery on our hands." Cult me, motherfuckers. Like, but at this point, yeah, I still love that.
That's got to be a T-shirt. Cult me, motherfuckers.
Is this these scenes? These Super 8 films just all look really good. I'm really glad they went with the decision to do actual Super 8 instead of a camera effect. It just looks so much better. One thing I don't love is you like the fake out with the kid. It bothered me the entire time I watched it the first time. I'm like, okay, so the kid's clearly in on it, and it was just a weird fit. Like they're trying too hard to make him look like he's the problem. I didn't know where they were going with the first time. I didn't know how Bagul interested. I went to see this movie. I chose it for a group of friends, and it's because specifically of how he looked. Like that thing looks creepy. I want to see what this movie is about. Money well spent on that. Again, this movie is his 100% Ellison's fault. He didn't have to move in, and there he didn't have to keep watching the movies. Like I think it was in this scene, or maybe it's in the last scene, where he calls the sheriff's department. I think it's in this scene. He calls them, is like, "Hey, I got some weird shit on my hand," and then hangs up because he's like, "No, they didn't want me involved in the first place. Screw them." Like, what a petty move. Like, you should have realized that you're in way over your head. But I like how Bagul is just in the pool, just chilling. Like, I can see you, but you don't realize that that he's staring right at him, and just chilling and fucking with him. Deputy so and so. I think it's a fun name because if you're gonna have a name, or in this case, not Deputy so and so, because that's what everybody would refer to him as, anyways. So that's how they credit him, as Deputy so and so. And I think in the sequel, he's ex Deputy so and so. I don't know if you've seen the sequel yet, Brian. Spoiler. I like the pool party. I think it was really well shot. Oh, I'm surprised his wife didn't start to suspect more about what the hell did you get into when Trevor, the first day of school, comes home because he's drawing shit of a family hanging in their backyard. She didn't like, why would that matter to him? Why would that be so, like, yeah, that's weird that he would do that, but it'd have to be something that the kid knows. There's no way he would go to a, he looks like he's in middle school at this point. There's no way he would get through a day at middle school without someone letting him know. It's like, hey, you're in that murder house, you freak.
Very true.
But yeah, no, that's really all I got for these scenes. Just really well done. And still got that eerie. The score in this movie, I don't think we've brought it up. Whenever he's watching the movies, I love the way the music is just that haunting. You get the clicking of the Super 8 as well. I think it just blends really well.
Yeah. Another good set of scenes. I mean, you really get when he starts watching the Super 8 films and he's checking them all out and seeing what's happening. Like, they're all really well done. Again, I go back to, why do they have to use real people? They're alive
Because
people.
why not?
I mean, I guess so. But unless Bagul possessed the director of the movie to try to kill some real people, maybe that's what's going on. But the further this movie goes on, the further you tell that Ellison does not give a shit about his family at all. Because the second he starts piecing this together and some creepy shit starts happening, which it did in this set of scenes, I would have went ahead and said, hey, you know what, honey, let's get out of here. Or at the very least, why don't you take the kids and get out of here? I think that this house is more than we bargained for. Just whatever. And you're right, Sean. There's no way that kid would have been able to go to school and not find out almost immediately that they moved into a murder house. Because that's how kids are. Especially when he starts, even if he doesn't know, that he's living in the house, when he draws it on the board, mom should have been like, why is he drawn? Like, what? I don't know. Mom should have pieced more together there than what she did, I think. Then, this movie really has a play on our show's name, because every time I saw him creeping through the house, I'm thinking to myself, don't go up there. Not don't go up there. Don't go up there. Because when he went up to the attic both times, he was in for some bad shit. So maybe if he stayed out of the attic, things would have happened. It would have been okay. But, I think it's like you said, Sean, the score when he's watching the films is great. It is throughout the movie. Just another great set of scenes. The Bagul, the Boogeyman, Mr. Boogie, whatever you want to call him. The look was great. Very glad that they didn't go with the Willy Wonka look, because it would have made it less like you would.
I don't think I would have seen it if he looked like Willy Wonka from the god awful Johnny Depp version.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been more unsettling in retrospect, actually, because you get a pleasant looking, creepy pedophile looking guy just smiling at you the whole time. Yeah, you might be more unsettled, but
well, what if you got actually Johnny Depp to play Willy Wonka as that guy?
I know it's been said on here before, and I agree with it. Willy Wonka is a horror movie if you take away the ending.
That's true. Two things there. Number one, Brian, I would be okay with that casting as long as Rob Zombie directs. And number two, Sean, Willy Wonka. Let's give a big middle finger to the OG Man Fuck Them Kids and the whole family. Grandpa Joe, that man was laid up in a bed for 20 years, and then as soon as his fat ass gets the chance to go to the diabetes factory, he hops out of bed and starts licking walls. What's up with that? But
that's fair. The ultimate Fuck Them Kids award.
That's neither here nor there. Another great set of scenes. I'm all in on this movie still to this point. No real criticisms or concerns. I like Deputy So-and-so. I like the happable sidekick that's, he's just so naive and eager to help. I like that. He honestly reminds me of another great deputy, Dewey. And I think that...
Hey, I got a question. GOAT means greatest of all time, right?
Correct.
Is it Ethan Hawke or is it David Arquette?
So it's another great... What's your problem, man? Listen, there could be multiple goats. There can be multiple goats.
A herd of goats, you could say.
How you think? Exactly. They come in herds. They don't reproduce by themselves. There's more than one goat.
Off the rails. I'm sorry I asked. Go. Keep going.
You got me all flustered here. If you're asking the tiers, I'll just put it out there like this. It's Ethan Hawke, it's Keanu Reeves, it's Ed Norton, and it's David Arquette. That's the Mount Rushmore.
You had me until David Arquette.
Okay.
Shut your whore mouth. Anyway, great set of scenes again. I like everything about it. I like how we get someone to kind of... Yeah, I don't think I would have been all in on this movie, or, as far as the believability. Now, granted, this is a demonic movie, so believability, you have to suspend your belief a little bit. But as far as him piecing the puzzle together, I'm glad that we got introduced to Deputy So-and-so, because it gives us that credibility, like, okay, this is how he found this out, because this guy actually has resources. He's not just a writer putting up a plot board like Charlie and It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, I'm a fan of James Ransone in this movie, and I think he's actually pretty good in Sinister Part 2. It's just the movie is just so unnecessary. You're like, all right, an EMT is there now tending to his injuries, and he refuses to go to the hospital. He talks to a police officer about what happened. The deputy says an intruder couldn't be up there, so it's probably just squirrels. The officer asks for an autograph for his Kentucky Blood book. Ellison offers him a book out of his office. He asks the officer to leave his private office and not look at the pictures. The deputy brings up the thank you section in his book, and Ellison says he could use his help. He asks him to get the details of these different murders. The deputy says he can get the information and leaves. Tracy apologizes for taking out her frustration of Trevor on him. They share a kiss as she says she's here with him. Ellison watches an interview with him and another man on why he writes books like these. He's asked what's more important, justice being served or his books selling well. He says justice. We see Ellison has an entire drawer of interviews of himself. Ellison is back on the computer analyzing the images he took from his phone. He zooms in on the bushes and sees the creepy face from the pool. He now finds the face in the garage where the car was set on fire. He zooms in on the face and rubs his eyes. He walks back to the evidence board and hangs up the picture of this face. Tracy and Ashley make Ellison's coffee now, and she tells her it's very particular. Ashley takes him his coffee, and he takes a call from the deputy. He gives Ellison the information he asked for, and as he writes it down, the creepy face on the computer looks over at him. Ellison now sees in his phone's video arms grabbing him as he fell through the ceiling. He slams his laptop shut. Ellison wakes up when he hears a noise. He goes into his office and sees the film playing of the family being hung and his laptop on. He shuts the tape and zooms in on the face. He goes back to the evidence board. He sees the face in the same spot of the bushes in real life as the picture. He goes outside with a light and baseball bat to check out what's going on. He finds Trevor in the bushes, and they say they have to put a lock on his door. They put him in bed, and he goes back outside to get something he forgot. He turns around, and there's a mean-ass dog looking at him. Ellison backs up to the baseball bat, and we see the family standing behind him. The dog turns away and walks off. Ellison goes back in the house, and Tracy says he's too old to be having these still. Tracy says, we need to leave. It's never been this bad for Trevor or for you. She says something's different this time. He says this is much bigger than what he found in Kentucky. He says this is his shot. I just want it. She says she's worried about him. Why did you come in white as a ghost? He says it's because he saw a dog. He says we're almost there. The deputy shows up and gives him some files and asks to come inside for a bit. The deputy says he's not some local moron and tells him of his credentials. He tells him he needs to be in the loop. He wants to know what happened here. He asks Ellison who is that when he sees the picture of the face. Ellison thinks it's more ritualistic and not serial. He tells the deputy of them being drugged, and in every case, one child goes missing and this symbol is found at the scene. Deputy says to get someone from the university involved. He tells the deputy he needs his help finding out where this drowning happened. All right, that's the next set of scenes I got. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. The line, do you have a notepad? Yes. Do you need a pen? Yes. I don't know. That cracked me up for some reason. I don't know. Maybe because it was stupid. I don't know. I died laughing at that one. Something I do want to point out, though, that's laid out in this set of scenes was Tracy telling Ashley that Daddy is very particular about his coffee. So you're telling me at the end, spoiler alert, he wouldn't have noticed or detected the slightest difference in his taste or at all until the bottom of that cup? I'm skeptical. I'm a little skeptical.
We'll get more onto that in the end, but he might have been too distracted by what the hell he just saw to notice the taste, but he was drinking it for a while, so...
And something else I think there's a little goof when Deputy So-and-so calls to give Ellison that information. He clearly says Dillington as the name of the street address the Ramirez family was staying on with a D. And when it shoots to like show you what's writing on the notepad, he wrote Billington with a B. Now, obviously, that's easily written off, no pun intended, but that's easily explained away by a normal human mistake, anyone could make. But it's a movie. I'm reviewing it. I'm pointing it out. Fuck it. Now, the projector coming on for literally no reason, and Ellison getting up and then just turning it off like it's some normal fucking thing. And then, sees Mr. Boogie out the window. No, absolutely. It's a very tense scene going outside looking for him and finding their son. I get all that. I agree with that. I definitely would have liked this more if it was a dream. This is all just blown off because of the focus on the sun. But you just woke up because your fucking projector just came on for no reason and saw some crazy shit outside. I don't know. It's like that and the kids outside. Like this is where I wanted some like real world explanation and was kind of hoping that these visions of the kids and all this stuff was just in his head. And I don't know. I quickly got back to the crime solving aspect of it when the deputy got there, after that scene. And honestly, that kind of just makes me more and more wish that was the way that they went with the story. But anyway, that's all I had on this set of scenes.
I think I only watched the sequel for the first time shortly after I got married. Right, so I think the reason the projector is on is because of something that's explained in the sequel. What do you think, Nico? Oh, you saw it with the kids?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to rewatch the sequel. I've only seen it once, and it was a couple months ago. But I think you're on to something with that.
But the only problem with that is it shows the same movie later. Which that part doesn't make sense. But also, if it is because of that, whatever. I don't want to spoil it for Brian.
But the issue I have is nothing should have to be explained in a sequel for it to make sense.
No, that's true.
So it's still a poor decision in my opinion.
Unless it's a Saw movie.
Unless it's a Saw movie, because on those you never know. Like it still makes sense as a standalone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No Saw movie is dependent on you seeing it. You could just drop in Saw 4 and watch Saw 4.
Right. Or Saw 3D, Nico's favorite.
Still better than nope. But no, so there's something going on there, but that projector is not that loud. If it's in his muffled office, how the hell is he waking up out of a deep sleep to hear it? Is he just listening for the sounds of the projector because he knows something spooky is about to happen, or is he just a really light sleeper? But whatever. I think there's something there. But at the same time, it doesn't make sense. But I think right here that they show the shot of the movie on his shirt that looks really cool. Oh, he's just standing there and he's got the family hanging on his shirt. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. That looks really well done. They really should have left whenever he found his kid out in the bushes right next to where a creepy faced thing was a few minutes ago. This is the point he should have been like, I'm out. I'm done. This is affecting my kids now. I know this doesn't have anything to do with the movie, but I really wish I knew what his other books were about, because Fred Thompson mentions in the beginning that, okay, you did good with Kentucky Blood, but you really pissed his pants, and it's on a cold Denver morning and screwed up everything. So I just know. I just want a little more context for those, because they make such a big deal about how bad his last two books were compared to Kentucky Blood. You just don't get anything about him other than that one scene. Him searching through the house, great stuff. The Rottweiler. I wonder if the Rottweiler was Bagul again, fucking with him. If every animal you see in him is just Bagul, or just screwing with him, just being like, "I'm here. What are you gonna do about it?" But then Bagul has no problem showing himself later. So I don't know.
I don't think
don't
that's
think so?
Bagul because it turns and runs away when it sees the
That's true.
family.
I don't want to say this is my least favorite set of scenes in the movie, because I don't really have a least favorite set. They're all pretty solid scenes, but I just don't have a lot of notes for them. There's just, because it's mostly just him trying to piece it all together about what the hell's going on, and Deputy so and so being like, "I'm not an idiot. I'm not Deputy Dewey. I'm Deputy so and you can actually trust me to get this solved." That's all I got.
All right, so this set of scenes, I really like you said, Sean. I don't really have a set of scenes I dislike. By the way, I acknowledge I was way too early. I jumped the gun on Deputy So and So. We didn't get introduced to that until this set of scenes. But I like the dynamic there when he's like shows up at the house. By the way, I left my copy. Can I get an autograph? You can tell he's a fan, but he's so much of a fan that he's willing to like get involved and actually help him. He wants that credit, that acknowledgement. So I like the introduction of him there. I really like the eureka moment, the realization that Ellison has when he's watching these and he sees Mr. Boogie and all these stills. That's the oh shit moment in this movie, and every good movie has one, and this one is done really well, I think. You see him start printing it out, especially when the projector, is playing by itself and he sees Mr. Boogie outside. That's like this whole set of scenes just does a great job of capturing that oh shit. The question that I have is, okay, so he goes outside and he finds his boy in the bushes. I agree with what you said earlier. Don't look at me like that. His boy was literally in the bushes. But you said it earlier how they kind of give us a swerve. We think it's the boy that's targeted. We think that Trevor, is that his name, Trevor? He's the one that's going to be the survivor that's missing or whatever. I don't know. I like the way it's done, but at the same time, I don't like how they give us this, like he's a sleepwalker, he's having night terrors, and he's running away and stuff. Because then it's like, okay, was this just legit? Like he legit just having a nightmare and walked outside? But then when he goes back outside because he forgot something, his flashlight and his baseball bat, I had questions about the dog as well. I don't think it was Mr. Boogie because of the way that it runs away when it sees the kids behind him. But also, when he turns to go back inside, she's standing right there. So I would think that she would have asked, what was going on? Like you were frozen. Or she acted like he just went out there and came back in, nothing happened. So was the dog actually there? Or was the dog just like messing with him? Could she have seen the dog? The dog saw the kids. So are the kids like there for everyone to see? Or is it just mind tricks for this particular guy or this particular family even? So these are questions that I have raised that really don't get answered. And it's okay that they don't, but it's just, I like when movies kind of make the wheels turn a little bit, and it's not just so cut and dry. Because this one raises a lot of questions that leave you thinking and builds that suspense in your own mind about the possibilities. Where could they take this now that we know that these kids can show up at random and torment you? And are they really there or not? So I really like the reveal in this set of scenes, the slow burn that we get with where we're going.
Would you say that the powers in this movie or the rules of it are consistent to this point? I know you, because it's hard to say. The kids just show up whenever. Nothing's really happened at this point, but there's still enough spookiness going on.
Yeah, I would say so, because at this point, like not to be too harsh to Nico's favorite movie, Babadook, but that was one of my biggest problems with that movie. Was like the rules, like the thing could just change its own powers, and there was not defined what it could and couldn't do. So this one, I don't think it really has that issue. It's just because the kids aren't the bad guy. The kids are just the kids are just a victim of their own circumstances. They're just there. So I wouldn't say that's
the one
an
thing
issue.
the Babadook couldn't do is make itself a good movie.
Damn.
I'm gonna answer one of Dustin's earlier questions. I think the dog thing is just a horror trope. Throughout horror history, dogs always pick up on ghosts or spirits in the house, and they always react to it, etc., etc. But that's just my interpretation of that.
Well,
I was going to answer something else, but Sean just distracted me with him talking about one of my movies being bad.
Well, I know. Talk about pot meat kettle, but it's very weird though that like that dog just came out of nowhere and is never seen again. Like we never got wind that the neighbors had dogs. Like I wish they'd have hinted at that earlier. Maybe like while they're moving in, the dog gets away from the owner while he's walking down the street or something. That dog just came out of nowhere, so it makes you think
there's
even
stray
more.
Dogs all over the country, brother.
That's a Rottweiler. That's not a stray dog. Someone would have kept that dog. But yeah, sure, what neighbors? But where the hell did the dog come from then? So it still is one of those things. Like honestly, we could have done without that. We could have just went with he walks outside to pick up his flashlight and his bat, and he picks it up, and we don't see that behind him. The children of the corner standing there in the field behind him, and then he just goes back inside. We didn't need the dog, really.
Talk about a bad movie. Whew.
Oh, not a bad movie, just bad effects. Come on.
That movie's terrible, brother. Sorry. All right, let's get back to the scene by scene. Ellison is back to the tapes, and he's watching a POV shot of someone looking into a house full of people. We see a lawnmower being pushed now, and it screams, terrifying Ellison as these people are ran over with a lawnmower. He's visibly shaken. He walks back in and turns the tape off. He lights a smoke and video calls with Professor Jonas. He's a fan of Ellison, and he knows the cases. He tells him the symbol is from a pagan deity. It's named Bagul, the eater of children. The crimes all have the element of a missing child. Bagul eats their souls over time. Jonas asks Ellison if there's been another one and asks to be told everything he can tell him. 3:23 a.m. and Ellison wakes up when he hears the projector running. It's a tree death scene again. Ellison turns the projector off and grabs a baseball bat. He hears noises and goes into the hallway. A creepy girl appears beside Ellison, and we see other of the missing children running through his house as he continues to look through his home. Ellison is back to his office and sees the projector running. He shuts it off and checks on his children. He closes Ashley's door, and we see the missing girl telling her to shush, and we see the drawing of Bagul and the hanging family on her wall. Ellison sits down on the couch, emotionally exhausted. He wakes up as the sun rises, and he goes back into his office. The deputy is over at his house, and he asks him a question. He asks, was there anything weird about the Stevensons? He says not to his knowledge. He asks if there's anything he wants to tell him. Ellison says his wife doesn't know about what's going, and he asks if she knows whose house this was. He asks if he saw something spooky in the house. He says he doesn't believe in the supernatural or paranormal. He tells Ellison the Stevensons never called the police or were reported. Deputy says this case is taking you to darker places than you thought. He says he's under so much stress his mind's trying to process it all at once. Deputy says he believes in all that stuff. He couldn't sleep one night in this house. He tells him to try and get out more and clear his head. Ellison says he thought something was in the house and woke up on the couch with a baseball bat. Tracy calls for Ellison, and he sees a painting of a girl named Stephanie on the tire swing. She tells Tracy she used to live here and who Daddy is writing about. Tracy goes ballistic on him for moving them into this house. He tells them no one died in the house. They died in the yard. What on earth possessed you to move here, she asks. Do you understand what you've done this time? Ellison defends his case, and she asks, how about moving your family to a home where they feel safe? She says this book is about him, not us. He says writing is what gives his life meaning. It's his legacy. She says his kids are your legacy. She walks out the room. Tracy tucks Ashley into bed, and she asks if she got Daddy in trouble. She kisses her goodnight, and Tracy sees Ellison watching another interview of himself. She turns the TV off and wakes him up. A flashlight shines on Ellison and walks towards him. It turns off and the projector turns on. Ellison is overwhelmed by the sounds in his head. He walks to his office and doesn't see the projector. He sees the attic steps are down and goes up there towards the flashing light. He sees all the missing children watching the tape and the Bagul on the screen. A Bagul face appears in front of him and he falls to the floor. He screams as the box of films and projector fall to the floor. And the next set of scenes are the ending. Go ahead, Brian.
No, honey, Daddy got Daddy in trouble is pretty much story of my life. Just so you know. But this
believe that.
lawnmower video, I'll admit, scared the shit out of me with that jump scare. When I first watched it, you can barely see anything in it, so you're focused, squinting, and seeing what's about to happen, and then bam! Honestly, I expected some like major gore there, and before I knew what I said earlier about them trying for that PG-13 rating, I had to recheck when this came out. Nico kind of touched on this in 2012. I mean, that's when things really kind of shifted away from the hostile gore porn type movies to these more like psychological movies like Insidious 2, Oculus, Mama, what else? Cabin in the Woods, Conjuring. All of those kind of really came out around this time. So,
Brian,
yeah.
just want to throw out there, Mama is a great movie as well. I'm picking it soon.
Okay,
Or
I'll watch
eventually.
it.
I won't say soon. I'll say eventually.
All right. Sounds good. But it kind of makes sense that this movie would really have some like solid footing in this era of horror. One that honestly continues today, I think, in my opinion. All right, shout out to my guy Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays Professor Jonas. He's legitimately, I can't say his last name, but he's one of my favorite actors of all time. Still killing it today as Wilson Fisk. Just kind of wanted to shout him out because he's my guy. I seriously love that actor.
I do too. It's also very interesting that he was uncredited in the credits. He's not
right.
Like that's bizarre. Like I would think that he would want his name out there. He's great.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's just friends with Scott and did it as a favor. I'm not real sure, to be honest with you. But anyway, I could have honestly done without the kids playing hide and seek with him at 3:30 in this set of scenes. Like I think we overdid it a little bit. Like respectfully and personally with that, like I just feel like it was almost a retread of the last set of scenes where he finds his son outside, and it really, to me, wasn't really needed. It was a great visual with Ashley seeing the girl in her room, which to me, I think was almost really made for the trailer. I mean, it's just nothing, a whole lot didn't come from that. And his explaining, seeing the supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal, quote unquote, with Deputy So-and-so could have been cut as well, I think. Although I do wish that his part of the conversation would have been played up a little bit more about his drinking. I think like don't show us these kids and things. Like make us think that it's possible that he's drinking too much and hallucinating this stuff. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't, the drinking never really came into play as much as I thought that it should have.
Especially since she made that whole thing of you've never broken into the whiskey this early.
Right. The last thing I'll say is props to Hawk and Rylance on their fight. It felt real. It felt natural. It might have been the best acting of this movie between the two of them. It was amazingly acted between those two. But that's all I have.
So Brian, I'm surprised at you. I figured you being a dad and all, you could appreciate some good lawn work.
I mean, I do enjoy cutting grass, not really killing people with the lawnmower. I mean, I'm not.
Anyway.
I mean, not on normal weekend.
Normal weekend, he says. Keep that in mind. Normal weekend. Anyways, this scene, oh man, when we were in the theaters, we were like, okay, this is interesting. And then this scene comes on, you see the lawnmower, you're like, oh, that's not okay. Because it got me, because it's like you said, you were trying to be like, what the heck is this video? Because all the other videos were pretty clearly about what's going on. But you're like, lawnmower? I was like, there's no way. I'm like, nope, they did it. They ran over their faces with a lawnmower, which, spoiler alert, favorite kill, just because it's so well done. It's so unexpected. Just the whole visual of her doing it at night in the rain just adds another element of creepiness to it. I think this is actually the scene I said last time of where he's in there, the projector's going on his shirt, which again, still a cool shot. Doesn't matter what scene it is. The them doing the kids that's in the hallway was interesting at first, but I think it went on just a little bit too long because he just happened to miss them every single time. He didn't see a single even blur, or I think kind of ruined it. Because otherwise, after a few minutes, he'd have been like, screw this, I'm going back to bed, instead of just sitting there on the couch with a baseball bat into that really cool shot of the sun coming up behind him. Really well shot scene. Cinematography in this scene is really well done. And Ashley's like, oh yeah, she's the little girl who used to live here. It's who Daddy's writing his book about. The look she just gives him of, got you now, Daddy. Like, it's at that point I should have realized what was happening, that it was all her. But then they also ruined it by having her look terrified that Bagul was in her room. I'm a little girl. Also, with all the I just thought of this question. With all the shit that he's seen in these movies, in these Super 8 movies, everything that's been going on, and how paranoid he is searching the house, you don't think he would have gone into his daughter's room and seen that painting and been like, fuck this, I'm out? It's like, how does she know about that thing? And it still takes him another 30 minutes to leave the house. I don't know how long, but it still takes him too damn long to leave the house.
Again, he does not care about his family.
He might be the worst dad you've had on this show. You've had some pretty bad ones.
That's actually an interesting future episode idea.
I don't know. Nicolas Cage in Color Out of Space.
That's because he was a terrible cook. Terrible cook, Jesus.
Well, and terrible cook, terrible actor, tomato.
How dare you? He's the greatest there ever was. That's, like, he's on a tier above everyone. Anyways. Right. That being said, I still don't think he could have pulled off this movie as well as Ethan Hawke did, because when Nick Cage plays an asshole, he really plays into the asshole. Ethan Hawke here just doesn't give a fuck. He's all about himself. He sort of cares for his family, because there's little moments throughout the movie of where, oh, hey, this family actually likes each other, unlike Color Out of Space, where these people couldn't give a shit about each other.
Jack Torrance.
Okay.
Terrible fucking dad.
That's fair.
That's true.
That's fair. Jack Torrance was pretty terrible. He was also a pretty terrible husband too. He did try to bash his wife's brains in.
You know, Dead Meat called Ellis in his movie "Realistic Jack Torrance."
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, I watched the kill cam last night. He does do that. I like that this is how Bagul finally decided to fuck with Allison. It's like, all right, I've been in the background enough. I'm just gonna be like, hi, it's me. Screw you, and just appear with one of the better jump scares of this movie, of which there are too damn many. Which I know if Mike was here, he'd be complaining about how many damn jump scares are in this movie. But overall, really good set of scene, and it's really well done. And he still doesn't leave the house immediately.
Have you seen the housing market? Come on, you can't just leave a house unless, the only way you can leave a house like this is if you're Brian Hathaway.
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm sorry, I thought they used your house for the next location.
3 stories.
I hope so. Get me out of here. So this set of scenes is another good one. The Mower Deaths. Holy crap! Like, didn't really want to see that coming. Like, that was very well done. Brutal. Imagine if they were actually shooting for that R rating. Like, imagine the gore we could have got with a lawnmower rolling over someone's face. So that was interesting. So yeah, I mean, you got the projector coming on by itself again. Again, I say this guy's just waiting too long to send his family on their merry way. She said earlier, as things go south again, I'm taking the kids and going to my sister's house or whatever it was she said. She should have done that by now. And if she didn't, he should have done that right now. Like, he should have said, listen, this is more than I bargained for. I think that we're actually in danger, and I don't think it's a person. I think it's a supernatural being. So please take the kids and get out of here, because I don't think you're safe. But again, he doesn't care about his family, which honestly at this point you kind of have to start to respect. Like, just this kind of blatant disregard for his family's health and well-being, you kind of just have to be like, okay, it's admirable that he doesn't care this much. When he goes looking through the house, after the whole shitstorm, and he looks in at Trevor, and little dude's okay, it seems. He's in his room, which is an upgrade from how he has been. He's not streaking down the street. That's cool. But then he goes to the little girl's room, and I really like how this is shot. Because from his perspective, he's looking at her. Hey, she's laying in bed. She's good. Okay. He walks out. Camera pans over. This is such a great shot to me, how the camera pans from what we saw to we see her face, and she's petrified. She cannot make a sound. So then it pans over even more, and we get the painting on her wall of the kids hanging in the trees. Which, by the way, I like that they let her character have the ability to just paint her walls to appease her, because then it makes more sense. I like how they did that, because you see that this is a way that we're going to try to win her over into moving, because she didn't want to move. But then it's also a way for us, the audience, to realize that she knows more than what Daddy's telling her. So, and this is what I'm talking about. Pans over, we see the kids hanging, we see Mr. Boogie on the wall. And then little Stephanie is laying there in the bed, or sitting there in the corner saying, shh. Like, that is a creepy shot. I love the way that was done.
Right.
I really like Deputy So-and-so's disbelief when he starts, like, if I ask you something in earnest, don't judge me, but blah, blah, blah. And he lays it all out there. He puts all his chips on the table. And Deputy So-and-so says, listen, man, you've been hitting the bottle a little too much. I like that, because every movie that has some kind of supernatural effect going on, and only one character's in on it, you need that person that's going to be like, nah, come on, man, you're full of shit. And so I like that it's Deputy So-and-so. Because if he goes to his wife, it messes with their dynamic. If he goes to Dr. Jonas or Professor Jonas, whatever his name is, that dude's more likely to believe it. So I like that it's Deputy So-and-so. Well, maybe because he studies the occult, so he can at least understand it and sympathize with him.
Well, getting into the next scene, really not, though.
Sure, but at this point, because he at least knows he's well studied, so he knows that this can affect people, and you can start to buy into it. So, but I like this Deputy So-and-so, because this is a guy that's supposedly 100% on his team. He's down for the cause. Whatever you're doing, man, I'm in. And then when he starts laying it out there, he's like, whoa, let's pump the brakes a little bit, man. You're going a little crazy. So I like that aspect. And then I really got a chuckle out of the justification he gave his wife when she's like, they didn't die here. He goes, no, they died in the yard. Like, I laughed out loud. That's funny to me, because that's what guys do. When our ass is in the bear trap, we'll say whatever we can to just like ease it a little bit. No, I wasn't looking at her. She walked into my line of sight. That's such a guy move to say, no, they didn't die here. They died in the yard. But overall, man, this is just another good set of scenes. That's got some good optics. It's got a great score again, and I'm ready for the finale at this point. Which by the way, is coming, and we're only like an hour and a half into this thing. Shout out to the runtime on this movie too. It's not that long.
It doesn't feel its length either very often.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is that long. It's like an hour 50 minutes or something. So I guess actually in retrospect, it is kind of long.
Same
but it
like
doesn't really
Color
feel
Out of
it.
Space, which is a great movie.
All right, here's the ending, and I feel like me and Brian differ on the endings. I don't think Brian really cares for the ending, or just from text exchanges. I think this is kind of where the movie lost you, where the supernatural stuff kicks in.
Yeah.
All right. Ellison gathers all the film and projector and light them on fire outside. He stares at the tapes burn. Tracy asks, "What the hell are you doing?" He says they have to leave, and we should have never came here. He yells at her to pack the kids up. We have to leave now. We see Tracy frantically getting the kids up and packed. They're driving away now, and she asks him to slow down. Ashley asks where they're going. Back home, he says. A cop pulls them over as he speeds away. It's the sheriff. He asks for license and registration and says he was driving pretty fast. He tells sheriff he's leaving town and never looking back. He asks if he was bullied out of town. Ellison says there won't be any new book. He lets him off with a warning and tips his hat. Tracy asks if he's serious, no more book. He says yes, and they kiss. They drive away. They're moving back into their old home, and Ellison ignores the deputy's calls. That night, Ellison is unpacking some and sees an email from Jonas. It's pictures about the cult. He video calls him and he tells Ellison Bagul lived in the images. He says children were especially susceptible. He asks what if the image was destroyed. He hangs up the call and deletes all the videos from his computer. The deputy calls again but is ignored. Ellison goes into his attic and sees the box of home movies. He's terrified when he opens the lid of the box. He dumps them all over the floor and sees an envelope with an extended cut. He pieces it together and answers the call from the deputy. He tells Ellison the problem is you moved. He tells him the connection was each family lived in a previous home of a dead family. He tells Ellison he just put himself into this timeline of murdered families. Ellison watches the extended cut now. He sees the missing girl climb down the tree and swinging on her dead family member's legs. It reveals all the missing children telling the watcher to be quiet. The film cuts. Ellison is feeling weak and stumbling around. He notices something weird in his coffee cup on top of a note from his daughter. She appears and says she likes that he made the movies longer. They're better this way. We now see Ellison bound and mouth taped up in the family. Ashley walks in with a camera and an axe. She says, "Don't worry, Daddy. I'll make you famous again." And that's a great line. She walks closer and closer and places the camera on the floor as she axes him to death. Ashley puts up the shush sign as she walks down the bloody hallway. We now see all the missing children in the hallway. They look at Ashley as she draws her murder scene into the other's painting on the box lid. She watches the tape and tilts her head, and we see Bagul appear. He picks her up and walks down the hallway with her. The film ends as it pans away from the box of home movies and a jump scare with Bagul, which I hated. Uh, and that's the ending. Brian, what'd you think? I will say I hated that jump scare, and it's at the end of Sinister 2 as well. It's so unnecessary.
Spoiler,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah, take a whiff there, Nico.
I didn't tell you what happened in the movie.
So I agree with you. That line that you said was very good about making him famous. I thought that was very well written. I think I've touched enough on the fact that that the ending kind of disappointed me. It was fine. I mean, it's not. I'm not saying the ending was bad. Like this movie blew ass because of the ending. It's just not what I wanted to happen. Like it's not. It's not what I would have preferred to the movie to be. So, great effects. One thing I will say though, when Ashley lifts the axe, her momentum is like raising it to strike a blow, but like in the very next shot, it's horizontally in both hands at waist level. I just think that was like a really bad cut. It just made it seem very weird. Again, just a nitpick, but that's all I really had on the ending. Like I feel like I've harped on it enough. It's not bad. I'm not going to rate this movie terrible or anything. I just wanted something else, and the supernatural part kind of took me away from it. I guess it's kind of like ghosts in movies with Mike. I guess maybe this is the way he feels about it. Like if a ghost pops up, oh, he's like, oh fuck this movie, I'm out. I'm not like that about supernatural stuff. It's just not what I wanted this movie to be.
He moved out of that house into that one in Western Pennsylvania, being like, okay, you really moved down in the world. I don't think selling college textbooks, even though they cost $1,000, would have been enough. This right here, where he takes it out to the grill, throws everything in there, and throws it and lights it on fire, is probably the best part when it comes to the score. Like this is where the score is most effective, because it's just got that creepy tones to it, like the movies are trying to play. It's just really well done. And she comes out and he's finally like, I fucked up. We need to go right now. We'll send for everybody in the morning. Which that brings up a point. How long are they at this house? Are they even there a week before he says screw this?
I wondered that too. I wondered what the timeline of all these events were, to be honest with you. It feels like it's less than 2 weeks for sure.
But no, then he goes back to the house, everything's fine. Then he sees the box and doesn't immediately say, screw this. I have it in capital letters right here. You burned the fucking tapes. Why would you watch them again? So he really brought this on himself. Like, he brought it on himself the whole time, but he watched the tapes again, therefore basically guaranteeing he was going to die. So I really didn't feel bad for him. I felt bad for Ashley and Trevor because, well, their family member got them killed. But no, that line, I'm going to make you famous again, Daddy. Just so creepy, so well delivered. Her just standing there or everything about it is really well done. One thing I don't like about the ending is the kids are all there being creepy. Earlier, they had no problem sitting in the attic watching Bagul arrive, but when he shows up this time, they're like, "Oh shit, we need to go." Like, which is it? Do you like Bagul? Oh, even though he's eating you, or are you terrified of Bagul? Which is it? And the sequel doesn't help there either. Of are they afraid of him or not? It's just one of those minor nitpicks. But not my favorite ending in the world, especially after an opening that strong, and a movie so strong that it sort of fizzles out.
Good point.
And that's part of the reason I didn't like it the first time I saw it all the years ago. It's like that was the ending you went with. Like, I didn't mind everybody dying, but it was just kind of like, oh, okay then. Abrupt. But Fred Thompson's line about, I don't need your autograph then. Great point. Because I'm sure I think he heard the conversation between him and his wife at the beginning of the movie about, oh, he was just asking for my autograph. Him being completely dismissive of him.
Nice.
Like,
Good point.
But here's the thing. If he had moved once again, like if he had fled to his sister-in-law's house, after he found the second box of tapes, would his family be safe then, or would he just gotten more people killed?
I think more people would have been killed.
Because I think it's the act of moving that sets everything in motion. It doesn't matter where to.
I think if you're in that house when it happens, you're done.
But no, that's all I got. Yes, the jump scare, but the final jump scare was stupid, and I hated it.
Yeah, so I think it's a pretty good ending, too. So he finally, it's like, we got to move. We got to get out of here. Get your shit and go. It's too late, man. Like, don't act like you care now. Like, at this point, you should have just left by yourself and left the kids behind because you already doomed everyone. One thing I don't understand how Professor Jonas, like, how did he just surmise that, hey, you sped up the timeline. You're in immediate danger. Like, when he told him, by moving, like you entered the timeline, you might be next, but by moving, you might have sped it up. Could have done without that line.
That was so-and-so, though, not the professor.
Okay, we're okay. Regardless, you're right. So regardless, whoever it was, like, why would you just automatically assume that he sped things up just because he moved? Like, just say you're next. That's all you had to say. Had a problem with that line. I do like the extended cuts we got of these movies. Like, because when I'm watching, I'm like, oh, shit, what? Wait, what? Like, I start questioning, did I see this earlier and just forgot? Like, what's been going on? I like that we get that. We get, the kids showing up in these murders and giving us the Jameis Winston to the crowd in 2014. I like that he's doing that. A problem that I do have, though, you guys touched on earlier, is Daddy's particular about his coffee. Yeah, he drank this whole cup of coffee, knowing, when he's talking to Deputy so-and-so earlier, he says that these victims were all drugged, or we couldn't really figure out what it was they were drugged with. And you know that you're in danger, so if you take one sip and it tastes a little off, you're not going to automatically assume something. I don't like that they made it glow, though. Like, he looks down at his coffee cup and it's glowing green. That's a little cheesy to me. You didn't have to do that. Just have him look at his coffee and look at it confused like something's off, and then he falls down and foams out his mouth.
It was it was almost like a color that was like out of space or something,
That was bad, and you should feel bad.
But the foaming out of the mouth thing would have been, so all you had to do is have him befuddled right now. He's off. There's something amiss, and he takes a sip from his coffee again. And then he falls down and he starts foaming out his mouth, which I thought the foaming effects were fine. But then the camera just like hones in on the coffee cup that he just dropped. And that lets the audience know the coffee was poisoned. Like, we don't have to see a glowing green substance. Come on. Cleopatra didn't even use glowing green. They look like the shit out of Ninja Turtles 2. Anyway.
The TGRI guy.
TGRI guy. Poison the coffee here.
Brian's such a nerd.
Says you.
Respectfully.
You,
Respectfully. I mean, it's true.
But plot twist, what if Sinister 2 would have in fact turned Ethan Hawke into Super Shredder instead? Anyway. The murder, once we see what's going on here, I think we got there, and we didn't get here in a hurry, but once we got here, it all happened in a hurry. Like, they move, and then bam, 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 everybody's dead. Like, holy shit, how'd that happen? The line and the delivery was great because it lets you know that little girl understands Daddy never really loved us. All he wanted to do is be famous. So here, Daddy, I got you. Like, that was such a chilling line. I thought it was mad nuts when dude just picked her up from behind and walked into the TV screen. That to me shows that he clearly was inspired by The Ring. People, just coming and going out of TV screens as you please. Like, that's when I read that fun fact that this movie was an inspiration after he watched The Ring. It's like, okay, that makes sense. The last thing that I have though is that every jump scare up until this point I've been okay with because they weren't false jump scares. They weren't a cat coming around the corner. They weren't a broom falling in the next room. They were legit jump scares that actually were meant to scare you, and they were relevant to the plot points. This last one, though, can go to hell. The ending was good, but that last jump scare sucked. Go ahead.
No, I agree 100% with that. Any more final thoughts before we just jump into social media comments and questions? All right, let's just do Twitter first because there's not really a lot there. At Darren Senpai, I think until you say it, said, my favorite horror movie, let's go, with a bunch of exclamation points. Hell yeah, brother. Let's jump over to Facebook real quick. Jared Summers, my man. Excellent pick, Sean. Been looking forward to this review for a long time. Me too, Jared. I really like this movie. I'm glad we're doing it. Samantha Davidson commented, great choice. The home movies in this one are really something else. Sinister came out during a not great era of horror, which I disagree with personally, and I think it really stands out as a gem. And Ethan Hawke can totally call me sometime.
Hey, yo.
I mean,
and
he's a good-looking man.
Yeah, he's not bad. He's a good-looking man. I respect it. Rochelle Mack, she commented on Instagram, yay, finally. I've been waiting for you guys to do this one. Probably one of the first movies that actually scared me to my core. My question for y'all, which Super 8 film impacted you the most? Mine has to be Sleepy Time, but Lawn Work gets an honorable mention for the jump scare. I'll go first real quick. I like all of them personally, but what Brian kind of mentioned earlier, definitely the pool time one. I love the pool scene. That one's just the idea of getting burned alive in a car would suck a lot too, but getting taped to a pool chair and drowned, that's terrifying to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've seen a bunch of throat slashes and all that stuff, so the drowning one, I just appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, but at the same time, man, getting your face ran over with a lawnmower, that's pretty terrifying shit. So I thought that one was the most shocking one, I think, but the pool one was pretty awesome.
The pool one was the most well done, but the lawnmower was the most effective.
Don't sleep on hanging from the tree.
Oh yeah, no, the hangings are great.
I like
the hangings
all of them,
are great
honestly.
for setting the tone of the movie and being like, there's nothing okay that happens in this movie.
The car one was probably the worst one. I mean, it just, I don't know. I mean, you couldn't really see anything, not that you wanted to, but I don't know. It just probably. At
least you could see the family hanging out, unlike in Sleepy Time Murders. It just showed the family's just suddenly murdered. You got a brief glimpse into everybody else's life.
Yeah, and I think the pool scene is just the best because you get that awesome shot of Bagul walking underwater too. It's just that scene kicks ass. Let's jump into fun facts. I'll knock mine out real quick. Ethan Hawke had never seen the Super 8 snuff films prior to the date of recording Sinister. When a scene where his character watches the snuff films was ready to be recorded, the soundtrack was matched up with the films, and Hawke played out his role. His reactions to the films were recorded for Sinister and used in the final film. I think that's awesome that he went in blind. The name Bagul, I don't know if this has been mentioned or not, but the name Bagul translates back to boogeyman. In the scene, and Sean's kind of touched on this throughout the night, in the scenes where a scorpion and snake are shown in the attic, these are two of Bagul's forms as depicted in the ancient drawings given to Ellison by Professor Jonas in the movie. That's all the fun facts I got. And then, Brian, you got any more?
I got just a couple. The first one, in 2020, Forbes magazine conducted a study, Science of Scare Project, where the heart rate of the viewers were monitored while they watched a number of horror films. Out of 35 films, this movie won, having the highest average heart rate at 86, spiking at 131 beats per minute.
Wow.
Thus, it often being deemed as the scariest movie ever made. I don't think it's the scariest movie ever made, but I definitely get that, like the suspense and the horror elements. Like this is good.
It's one of the more very
well
uncomfortable
made
movie.
Yeah, unsettling for sure. Last one I've got, Ethan Hawke in this movie plays a writer, which he is in real life, having written 2 novels, The Hottest State in 1996 and Ash Wednesday 2002. Brad Pitt could never. Go ahead.
I don't understand the beef with Brad Pitt, but I'll do the budget now.
Y'all started it. It was not a beef. All I said was, Brad Pitt just doesn't really do it for me. Like he's okay, but I've never got the hype. And I just said Ethan Hawke could have done this movie. Ed Norton could have done this movie. And you're like, no, Ethan Hawke could never. So it's on your hands.
That's true. I'm on Dustin's side on this one. Y'all started it.
Thank you.
All right, whatever. Let's do the budget real quick. Budget was an estimated $3 million. The opening weekend was $18 million and some change. It grossed in the U.S. over $48 million, and the worldwide gross was $82,515,113.
You said $3 million, or is that what you said?
Estimated $3 million budget. This is according to IMDb's numbers.
That's crazy. And we literally just did a review on Starship Troopers from 1997 with a $130 million budget.
Yep.
Crazy. It's crazy.
Alrighty, let's jump into our favorite part of the show, the rating, the favorite kill, and the least favorite kill. Sean, this was your pick. Do you want to go first or last? Ricky Bobby style.
I think I've finally figured out what I'm going to rate this movie, so I'm going to go first and take all the flack. So, okay. You shit all over my movie last time, so.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, favorite kill, like I said, the lawnmower kill, just because it's so unexpected and just so well shot. Least favorite kill is the sleepy time murders, just because it was just a throat slash, and this movie had a lot of really good stuff in it for it to be just a simple throat slash. And my rating, I think I finally settled on a 8.75.
Okay, I'll go next. Favorite kill. Honestly, complete opposite of From When a Stranger Calls. I like pretty much all the kills in this movie, but my favorite kill definitely the pool party scene. Just the thought of being duct taped to a pool chair and then pulled underwater and you're completely helped. Drowning, it terrifies me, honestly. One of my greatest fears in life is being lost at sea because I'm just fucked at that point. And I hate the thought of drowning, and I hate not being able to breathe. That I hate that. Least favorite kill. I wrote it's hard to pick, but I just chose Elson and their family just because it was all off screen. You didn't see like a dead corpse or anything. So, but I still think the scene is great. Him, mouth duct tape, tied up, and then I'll make you famous again, Daddy. Love the fucking line. It's great. I just wrote, I really like this movie, and I have since I first saw it. I've watched this movie several times, and it's been on my list of picks since we started the show. Great acting, great mood and feel. Bagul is creepy as hell, and you can definitely tell this movie, like I just wrote, like you can definitely tell it's inspired by The Ring, another movie I really like. The Super 8 films are the most memorable aspects, and goddamn, they're creepy. The commitment to the stunts in the Super 8 scenes I really appreciate as well. Especially the pool scene, like we touched on. Those are real stunt people getting pulled in the water. The actor who played Bagul, like Sean said, had weighted shoes on. He was down there the whole time. That's all real. And divers, like Sean said, were swimming up to him and giving him water or giving him oxygen underwater. So I give them big props for that. That's incredible. Yeah, on a $3 million budget.
I mean, shit, I'm surprised they didn't have a straw just out the top of the fucking water.
I think if they wanted to, they probably could have. But that whole scene.
And something that we touched on in the past that I really like is the fact that this movie had the balls to kill kids and it had killer kids. Like I really appreciated that fact. The only cons I really have is I just didn't like the jump scare at the end, and the movie, I'll say, even though I've rewatched it several times, I would say for most people, this isn't probably the most rewatchable movie ever. Like, you're not going to think, man, I'm looking forward to watching Sinister again tonight, just because it's kind of just a bleak, dark movie. And but I gave the movie a 9 out of 10. I really like the movie. I think it's great.
Wow,
that's pretty fair.
Absolutely.
That's pretty fair.
Nice. So this movie to me, well, let's knock the kills out of the way. My favorite kill, I like them all. I don't really have a least favorite. I guess I'll go with Lawnmower, just because it was so like holy shit. Um, and least favorite, if I had to choose one, I'll go with Throat Slit, just because it's been done. I don't know. Like they're all good. They're all well done in this movie. But as far as this movie goes, I agree with what you said, Nico. This is not a movie that I would say, you know what, I want to watch a good movie. Let's throw on Sinister. But at the end of the day, it is a good movie. This is a movie to where, okay, what was the movie we just reviewed that we talked about would be a good intro to horror? Was it When a Stranger Calls?
Yeah.
So this is a movie to, I feel like if you've got someone that's not really into horror and you show them When a Stranger Calls and they're like, hey, you know, I kind of like that. And then you show them one more that's slightly above that. I can't think of one off my top of my head, but they like that one. Sure, Hush. Hush would be a good one. But this is that next step. We're like, okay, let's kick it up a notch. Let's watch something that's scary as shit that I don't necessarily have to ever watch again. That's this movie. The casting's great. I touched on it before. You got, from Vince D'Onofrio to Fred Thompson to Ethan Hawke. You got some star power there and some high quality actors. The writing is good. The score is phenomenal. The cinematography is great. We get some great scenes, great shots in this movie. I really like the lighting, especially when he's going up in the attic after he comes out of the well lit room. Like it just adds to the eeriness. I like this movie a lot. I did not expect, like when I went into this movie, I hadn't seen it in a while. I didn't expect to rate it this high. But I went with a 7.75.
Respectable.
So my favorite set of scenes was the pool party as well. My least favorite was the scorpion, because I mean the scorpion didn't even do anything. It was fucked up. Like I feel like that didn't need to drop the box on the guy. I mean, shit, he was just.
Very sane animal abusers had it coming.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There you go. So I've kind of said my piece on this movie. I really feel like that it was a 9 or above for me as a true crime movie, like going into the last 2 set of scenes that we did. But actually, it's not a true crime movie. It is what it is, but it's not a bad movie at all. It's just not what I wanted out of it. I actually rated it a 6.75.
Nice.
So that gives us on average a composite score of 8.0625.
That's a lot higher than IMDb.
Yeah, IMDb. I got IMDb pulled up. I'll read it off real quick. With 242,105 ratings, it got a 6.8.
So Brian was the closest.
Ooh, it's closer.
Brian basically was dead on.
Exactly.
What do they know?
But me and Sean kind of pulled the average up on this one. I'm just a big fan of it. I think it's creepy as hell, especially like Dustin said. This was not. I don't think this would be a good intro to horror movie. Like if you're getting someone new into it, this ain't the one. This pretty deep.
Exactly. This is the one that you tested. Like, okay, you say you're into horror now. You like horror. Let's just test the waters here. And this is, oh, you think you can swim? Jump off the diving board. That's what this one is.
Sarah won't watch it with me. She absolutely refuses. She tolerates my horror movies at the best of time.
But all this being said, honestly, with you guys, like I'm probably going to rewatch this one this weekend because I hadn't seen it in so long and I enjoyed it that much. Like, I might just go ahead and rewatch it.
I like the sequel more than Nico.
Hey, it's free on Peacock.
Are you shitting me? I rented this movie on Amazon.
Yeah, me too. $1.99 on Prime.
Do you guys not have Google? Google the movie and streaming first.
It didn't show me. I always Google it. But
oh
it
my god!
Not show me that.
That's how the rich stay rich. Nico don't share his wealth. You don't share the secrets.
Sorry, guys. Sorry I let y'all down. Any more final thoughts on Sinister before we just shout out our blood donors and get out of here?
I just want to say that this episode went exactly like I thought it would. I thought it'd be a great discussion episode because it's just a generally unsettling movie. Just got a lot of interesting aspects to it. Had a lot of fun. Did not expect to not be the highest rating and on that. But no, it's been fun. Good movie. Good for about once or twice a year watch. Actually, if you're just in the mood for something just dark and not a happy ending in any way.
It's just like The Ring. It's worth one watch a year.
Except,
yeah, that's fair.
It's not one you're going to pick up all the time, but it's just when you're in the
Yeah,
mood
tell
for it,
them
you'll
everyone
enjoy it.
watch it
And
too.
Sean, I'll also say I'm glad you picked this movie. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for contributing to our show. This was a great episode because it restored my faith in your taste. So shout out to you, Sean.
See, now I got to do something stupid like the eye.
One movie has restored your faith, man. You got some flippy
No,
floppy
no,
faith over
no,
there.
no, no, no. It just shows that he's not all earmuff, Sean. He's not all color out of space. He can pick some
See,
good movies.
Dustin said that this movie for Sean was like in Dumb and Dumber. You do this and totally redeem yourself.
Hey, that was a
Exactly.
fantastic movie.
All right, let's shout out our blood donors.
Let's go.
All right, camper level reoccurring blood donors are Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, and Sean Irwin. Nice to see you, brother.
Hey.
Camp counselor reoccurring are Hunter Nelson, Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, and Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast. Our legendary blood donors that we still have film reviews to do are Miss Sarah Irwin, Sean Irwin's wife. Not looking forward to rewatching Rubber. And our Dream Warrior donor is Mr. David Farley. We appreciate all of our blood donors. Y'all take a big burden off of us. We really
Sean,
appreciate it.
There's still time. There's still time. Tell your wife there's still time
Hey,
to switch.
you know what?
Out of it.
You can keep my wife's name out of your mouth, Brian.
Talk her out of it.
Oh!
Stay out your fucking mouth.
I had to.
Anywho, let's get out of here. Sean, just want to thank you again for coming on the show. Really enjoyed you picking Sinister, man. I really am a big fan of this movie. I told you that. I'm surprised you went 8.75. Honestly, I figured you'd go 8 or something, but I'm a big fan of this movie. I'm a big fan of this era of movies. Honestly, I feel like the 2010s are slept on, personally. But shout out to all of our listeners. Really appreciate y'all. Y'all are awesome. We've had a really good 3 months, first 3 months of the year. I mean, we started off a little, holiday, little slump, I think. But, man, when you talking about the fans, they have come back and listened. We really appreciate it. Y'all are awesome. And more great reviews coming. Looking forward to it. Next review is going to be Brother Mike's pick, Annihilation. And y'all have a good one. Appreciate y'all
Thanks for
support.
having me.
Just want to remind everybody,